Hello?
Are you with me?
Yes,
Hi.
I'm right here. I'm
Yes,
hearing
okay.
you.
Recording in progress.
All right. So, good morning to the listening public of Trinidad and Tobago, and welcome to Let's Talk Legal. Thanks so much for joining us. We're very excited. Let's Talk Legal is a legal information and education series brought to you from D.L. Daniel and Associates, located at number 1 Taylor Street and R. Peter Avenue in Woodbrook. This morning we have quite a treat for you guys. We're going to be talking about family law. And if you just give us a few minutes, we'll get right into it. We're still awaiting our featured guest, Ms. Avian Joseph, to join us in a bit. All right, so for those of you now joining us, this is Let's Talk Legal. I am Shakila Daniel, coming to you from D.L. Daniel and Associates. And we're just awaiting a few minutes to start our program. Remember, you can feel free to join us as well in today's discussion. Feel free to call our numbers to speak with us on air or call the office after. All right, so for our listeners, last week we would have, actually Monday, our last segment, we would have discussed a bit of property law and more specifically, understanding the requirements for town and country's approval, understanding the differences between land uses, etc. It was quite an interesting topic, and today we're going to be going right over into family law. All right, today we would like to address the topic, the difference between divorce and annulment. And I myself, I am looking forward to this topic because I think it's something that's really important. Many of us feel differently about divorce and marriage. It can prove to be quite the ticklish topic, yeah? No one really goes into a marriage expecting it to end. However, life happens, and oftentimes a relationship, a marriage, it may be best to consider divorce as an option to mitigate the problems in the marriage. Yeah, so we're going to be talking about that today. And as mentioned before, I'm going to be joined in a short while by Mrs. Avian Joseph, attorney at law and family law specialist. I remember actually in school, she would have taught me on this topic actually and provided a lot of information and education on it. So I'm really excited to have her join me this morning to discuss this very important topic. I do remember a lot of her points from many, many years ago in UE. And so I'm really excited. It's an honor for me to have this segment and with her to go through it. So without further delay, we do have Ms. Joseph now joining with us. Good morning, Ms. Joseph.
Hi, very good morning. I just came out of a court matter, a family matter, a divorce. So it's a good time to talk to you.
Yes. I was stalling just a little bit to start us up. All right, Mrs. Joseph. So we're talking this morning about divorce and annulment, or divorce versus annulment. And I think the best place to probably start is, could we define divorce?
All right.
Yeah.
Divorce is a format used by the court to legally separate parties who were once married.
I like that, short and sweet. To legally separate parties who were once married. All right. Now, in Trinidad and Tobago, what are the grounds for divorce Are there grounds for divorce? And if so, what are they?
All right, people get slightly confused. There is one ground which is supported by one of 5 facts or 2 or more facts. So the one ground for divorce is irretrievable breakdown of your marriage, what the Americans call irreconcilable differences.
Yes.
But in our law, the language is irretrievable breakdown of the marriage. And you support that breakdown by 1 of 5 facts or 2 of 5 facts. Do you want me to go through the facts?
Yes, but before we go through it, I wanted to reiterate that again, because sometimes even law students themselves or new attorneys may have some difficulty with differentiating and understanding that fact, that really there is one ground, singular, one ground for divorce, and that is the irretrievable breakdown of the marriage. Irreconcilable differences does not exist in Trinidad and Tobago. That's American, that's for TV.
Yeah, but it means more or less, because a lot of us Trinidadians love to look at Judge Judy and Judge Mathis, right? And they will hear the term irreconcilable differences.
Yes.
So more or less it means the same, but in our jurisdiction, the language is irretrievable breakdown of marriage.
Good. So we have the one ground for divorce, and you said it's dependent on one of these 5 facts, so it can be 2. So now we could go into those facts that would allow someone to have a position upon which to petition for divorce.
All right, let's start with what is most common, unfortunately. The respondent, so the first fact I'm going to give is the fact that the respondent has committed adultery and the petitioner finds it intolerable. So this fact is 2-pronged. 1, the person has committed adultery and you find it intolerable to live with that person any longer. The other fact you can use is another very common one. The respondent has behaved in an unreasonable manner, and you can no longer live with that person. When we talk about unreasonable manner, unreasonable behavior in Trinidad and Tobago, we're usually talking about anything that falls under the Domestic Violence Act. Verbal abuse, physical abuse, living apart, psychological abuse, intimidation, a host of many things can come under unreasonable behavior. There is this fact that is easy for many persons. You have lived apart for 2 years and the other party consents. This one is 2-pronged. This is the only fact that requires the consent of the other party. A number of persons believe that you cannot be divorced if your spouse doesn't consent. That is not true. It is one fact that you can decide to use where you have lived apart for 2 years and the other person consents. The 4th fact that I will give you is you have lived apart for 5 years. This one, at least 5 years. This one requires no consent. And in the eyes of the court, living apart could very well be under the same roof, in the same bed. But there is no mutual interdependence, no cooking, washing, cleaning, and caring for each other. You live under the same roof, but your lives are separate. Once that is so for at least 5 years, it could be 10 years, it can be 6 years, it can be 7 years, but at least 5 years, you can file for the divorce. And the last fact that we have in our jurisdiction is that the other party has deserted his spouse or her spouse for at least 2 years, and this is over a continuous period. Now, in the eyes of the court, desertion is not the person who went to America and you haven't heard from them for a little while, but you know where they are. Or the person has gone back to his mother's house or her mother's house. Desertion means you do not know where the person is at all, and you have made all attempts to find the person, and you have no telephone number, no address, no connection whatsoever with the person for at least 2 years, that is what is desertion in Trinidad and Tobago. So those are your 5 facts.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Mrs. Joseph. I think that was really thoroughly covered, very clear, very precise, and I'm hoping that our listening public this morning would be able to benefit from the information shared. All right. So I just wanted to go over some of it again, just for clarification's sake, before we open our phone lines, because when we open the lines, it goes, right? The questions go. So we would have gone through 5 facts there. The first of which a lot of persons may be familiar with adultery. It's something that once you are a Bible reading person, you will be familiar with the concept. However, I find it interesting and probably wanted to highlight that it cannot just be adultery, which is sexual intimacy with another partner outside of the marriage, but the petitioner or the person asking for the divorce must find it intolerable.
That's right. Because I've been taken aback by that too, because I find the adultery is intolerable.
Right.
But you see, we live in a society where people accept a fling.
Correct.
We accept a deputy.
Yes.
Or we tolerate, and that's how. Sorry, I don't want to sound feminist, but that's how men are. That's how he is. That's how she is.
Right.
And we come to live with it.
Right.
Or, I get my groceries, I get my market taken care of, the rent is paid, the house is, he does everything.
Right.
So it's okay. So in the instance of adultery, the petitioner has to find it intolerable.
So if they engage in things that you would have mentioned there, they have not demonstrated that they find the behavior intolerable. Can they, and I mean, if they choose to reconcile, quote unquote, or still live with their partner with knowledge of the divorce,
knowledge of the
adultery,
right.
Knowledge of the adultery, can they use this ground? Because actually there was a caller this morning who called me that said his wife committed adultery 7 times, right? And he took her, he kept letting her come back home. So can a person, if they have not demonstrated that they find the behavior intolerable, can they rely on that ground of adultery?
No, they cannot. They cannot. It has to reach the standard. Because you see, when the court is separating persons, the court has to be certain that, I cannot live in this situation anymore. Correct. It's driving me crazy.
Right.
Sleepless nights. I'm losing weight. It's affecting my job.
Right.
I am a victim.
Right.
And so I need to get out.
Right. So a spouse cannot just decide one morning, though you have forgiven your partner for the adultery and have continued to live as man and wife, and one day you get vexed about something and say, you know what, I am going to use adultery.
Right. So you get vexed one day.
Right.
And if I am your attorney, although I'm not giving you legal advice over the telephone, over the radio,
right,
I will tell you, go on unreasonable behavior.
Correct. Because you have
accepted the adultery over time.
Yes.
So it's no longer an issue for you. But you see, the cumulative effect of that is what has now pushed you to want to go for a divorce.
Right.
So therefore then I will say to you, go under unreasonable behavior.
And I'm hoping that our listeners
and you can add the adultery in at that point in time as well. Correct,
has been a contributing factor.
Right.
Or an illustration of the unreasonable behavior.
Right, because remember, the court says to use one factor.
Yes.
But you are free to add 2 or 3.
Right.
In many instances, persons have more than one reason.
Right.
So, yes.
Right, that they can use. All right. So I really appreciate that, because I know of the popularity, I should say, of the question sometimes with persons, which leads me to just clarify one other point that we would have mentioned, which is desertion, because facts the facts 3, 4, and 5 for many persons can seem very similar, and I have seen them mix it up. Yeah.
Right.
So you have the 2 years, the 5 years, and the decision. So you have 2 years with consent.
Right. Now let's stop there. 2 years with consent.
Right.
This is the only time that you are required to go to your spouse and ask him or her to sign for a divorce.
Right.
A lot of people feel they cannot get divorced if the other party
doesn't agree.
That's right. That is not so. However, there are instances where you have mature parties. They are no longer doing well. They're living apart. They've gone their separate ways.
Right.
And for an amicable settlement, they can agree to a divorce after living apart for 2 years and one party consents.
Right.
Because I've seen instances where the court asks the other spouse, so have consented to this divorce, right? And the spouse says, no, I think we could make back. I think we can reconcile. Right. So immediately, even at the door of the court, you can change your consent.
Right.
And so therefore then, for me, it's an iffy factor.
Right.
I must be certain that the parties absolutely consent and mature enough, and they want to go on that fact. I
really find that to be iffy, yeah? Because if we're being realistic about the nature of divorce and family courts in general, it's quite emotive. And sometimes people may believe that this is what they want to do.
Right.
I wouldn't even, chalk it up to immaturity. I think it may be, really the realization that I am agreeing for my marriage to end. And to cut ties from a family member, which I think, marriage really makes two people family. So, I can see it being.
And you know why you are very correct, because the truth is, I don't know anybody in my years who want their marriage to end.
Yes,
so the divorce is kind of like the ultimate.
Yes.
And I have had clients who have filed a divorce petition, and on the day they withdraw.
Yes,
and the court understands that and allows you time, if you want to reconcile, and then come back to the court to tell the court we have reconciled and I am withdrawing the petition. Or before petition date, you have reconciled, and on petition date, you ask the court to withdraw the petition.
I get it.
So you're correct. This consent is iffy.
Yes.
But then now you have living apart for 5 years.
Right.
There are people who have gone their separate ways a long time. And they just really have an amicable relationship.
Right.
It's no longer a love affair.
Right.
I've gone on, I've left the country, or I've gone to another job, I've gone somewhere else, and we are no longer married, and we are separate, and we know that.
Right.
And it's at least 5 years.
Right.
And the court says to you, yes, you can use that as a fact.
Right.
And then we have many persons, because we are in an image society, they are living apart under the same roof.
Right.
Because I cannot afford the rent, or I cannot afford this, so I'm living here, but my mind is elsewhere.
Right. Okay.
There is no interdependence, no sharing of anything.
Right.
So for all intents and purposes, legally, those parties are already apart.
Okay.
And once you have at least 5 years in that situation, it is a fact that you can use.
Right. And then interestingly, so they're not going to consider that cohabitation. You're living together, but you are apart. Right.
No, it's the better thing to say is living under the same roof.
Right.
Because together connotes
as roommates. You're like roommates.
But you see, a mate also says that I have a relationship, I'm sharing.
Right. This has to be completely separate. No chores being shared.
Right. I'm not cooking for him sometimes, washing his clothes, and, those kinds of things.
In Trinidad and Tobago, that's really hard to find.
No, but you have people, and they even have a different entrance.
Okay. All right. Yes.
And they're only living, some of them, they're sleeping on the couch for years.
Right. I guess
they living apart,
right?
But they're just under the same roof,
right? And it may
because
be
of the situation.
Yes, one house both of us share, and we're not able to settle it yet.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Which will bring us to another point. I think part 2. So we have to have part 2 and 3 and 4 of this, because I do divorce has so many features, and oftentimes when people call about divorce, there are 3 parts, at least for me, that I think there's the divorce itself,
right,
the settlement in terms of the assets that would have been accumulated within the marriage, and then if there are children of the age of minority, the custody arrangements.
Custody is emotional.
I know.
Horrible
I
battles
am yet
there.
to meet an attorney who likes
battles there. I don't like them. I don't like them.
Right. So that is why I know that we have to have several parts for this topic. So we cannot just, we can't just address all together. But we have to definitely start with defining divorce, helping our listeners to understand the ground and the 5 facts that they can petition the court to have a divorce, and the circumstances that will contribute to their success with using that ground, with that fact, And with saying that, let's go to the last fact there, that is desertion. And I think that so many people like to sometimes claim that he deserted me, she deserted me. But does the law actually have requirements that needs to be met in order to constitute desertion?
And they love to use the word abandon.
Yes.
They love to use that word abandon. So things are rough at home, and you have agreed that the spouse or the male or the female will go to America. We love to do that, hopefully for a better life, and send down barrels. I don't think we do that anymore, and especially now in COVID. But you know where she is or where he is, and he sends money, MoneyGram, Western Union, and there is some level of connection with the other party.
He has not deserted.
That is correct.
Right.
I had a situation. Desertion is where you absolutely don't know where the person is.
Right.
No police trace. You went to his former home. His mother or her mother doesn't know where she is. Letters are coming back to you return. You have no telephone contact. You just absolutely don't know where the person is.
Right.
You put an advertisement in the papers.
So the petitioner will be required to give evidence that they have tried all these things?
Yes, and I had a situation like that. Because the marshal even went to the community to serve him the divorce papers. Nobody knew him.
Right.
They said he left here a long time ago. Nobody knew. So all of that is affidavit evidence that you know put before the court. And the court is still very careful. They wouldn't take your word.
Right.
The court goes another step and will now advertise your petition in the newspaper.
Wow. I love it. So we are almost through. Yes, before. So we're almost through with our segment. I think time flies when we're having fun. So we want to use this opportunity now to open our phone lines. Feel free to call us, hoping that the numbers can be given now, to call with your brief contributions to the segment this morning. Any questions that you may have, feel free to call us. Remember, after the segment, you can call our office at 241 3772, 241-3772, or 769-6410, 769-6410. Those are your contact numbers to call, or you can find us on social media and our website, dldaniel.com. dldaniel.com, legal administrative consultancy, simplifying law and giving you legal information and education, factual as it pertains to the laws of Trinidad and Tobago. So we just have about 5 minutes to wrap up our segment, and we're inviting our callers to join with us and ask any questions that you may have in relation to what we would have covered this morning. Our phone lines are open. I don't know if we can
we have a caller holding.
Numbers recited.
We have a caller holding on.
We have a caller. We'll send them through.
Good morning.
Caller, and welcome to the program. Hello.
Good morning, Pastor Google.
Hi, good morning.
Yes, and to the panel, I concerning the speak about the family court and so forth. Is the family court not supposed to be a counseling section section for counseling people who want a divorce? Because in the Bible, as I look at divorce is the devil's plan. Because Jesus said, God said, He said, forgive them, for they do not know what to do. And what God joined together, no man should set asunder. You're supposed to have counseling session, even though they misunderstand each other.
All right, thank you very much.
God didn't put out Adam and Eve in the garden and send them separate ways, you know.
All right, thank you very much, caller.
He put them out of the garden and he let them know, go eat therefore and multiply. All right. You do the toilet and the woman will bring forth.
All right, thank you. All right, so the numbers to call 342-0081, 342-0081, 771-1791, 771-1791, and 466-5391. You could call in and and make your contribution or ask any question that you would like to know.
We want to remind our listeners as well that this morning we are not here at all to encourage divorce. I know Mrs. Joseph and Miss Joseph is married for 42 years. I don't know if she allowed me to share that. And I am not married yet, but I do view marriage to be quite honorable. That's my taking my time. And I share the view of the caller. You know, it is a union by God, and we should do everything possible. Yes, but
all right, I agree with the caller. Mm-hmm. However, 2 points. Yes, the court provides counseling opportunities for persons who want it. That's 1 point. And like I said earlier, you have opportunities to reconcile, and the court gives you as much time as you want. The court also provided co-parenting. The court provides opportunities for you to seek counseling outside of the legal framework. And the other important point you want to bear in mind, the caller mentioned it, what God had joined together. Mm-hmm. We need to be sure that parties were joined together by God in the first place. But we will not go down that road.
We have a caller holding. We have a caller. We have a caller holding. Hello, good morning. Caller.
Hello.
Hi, good morning.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you was on my line. Good morning, Pastor Google. Good morning to the panel. I want to thank them for their information because it's very good information, because sometimes when you hear about divorce, you think it's such a horrible thing to go through. But with what they said, you know, you understand that it could be amicable. It could be, you know, two parties could go through this without, you know, the horror that you think it is.
That's correct.
I want to ask, though, when you said that there is under one clause or so that you have to get consent from your spouse to go through a divorce. Now, you also said that when it comes to the time, sometimes they're not ready. So they say, you know, like they're not agreeing after they sign on to the divorce.
Yes.
So I want to know if the person who brings forward the divorce, if they still want to go through and the other person is not agreeing, then what? Okay, you give them time, you counsel them, and one still want to, and the others one still don't want to, under this clause that you say they must agree. Then what next? What takes place next?
Very good question. Very good question. Remember, if they have chosen to go on the fact of consent, they, as you rightly said, they consented up front, and on court day they changed their mind, the matter is dismissed. And I've had a situation like that. And the person who filed on consent, as the Bible says, walked away sorrowful, and will then re-petition the court on the fact of unreasonable behavior. So this is why we said up front, going on consent is iffy unless you are absolutely certain that both parties agree and they will not change their mind on the morning of the court hearing. If the person changes their mind, the judge has no choice but to dismiss the matter because that fact has failed.
Yes. So you will have to make another petition under another fact. So caller, so listeners, unfortunately, we are out of time. And I know that I don't want to get buff, as we say locally, about going over our time. You know, we like to talk. That's what we do here best. So thanks so much for all of you who would have joined Let's Talk Legal. Afterwards, you can still talk with us. Feel free to call us. Still, we are here at the office. Our office numbers are 241-3772. You can speak to Ms. Joseph directly this morning, 241-3772, or our cell number 769-6410, 769-6410. Office number again, 241-3772, 241-3772, and 769-6410, 769-6410. This program, Let's Talk Legal, is brought to you every Monday at 11:15 a.m. and on Thursdays at 10:05 a.m. live from D.L. Daniel and Associates Legal Administrative Consultancy, number 1 Taylor Street and Arapita Avenue in Woodbrook. Mrs. Joseph, thank you so much for being here with me today.
It's a pleasure.
It always is, and we will have this recorded on YouTube, uploaded for a person's benefit. Join us here next time on Monday. We go back to land law. Remember to call us with our questions, and feel free to tune in every Monday and Thursday for Let's Talk Legal, simplifying law. Until next time, be safe. Bye-bye.
Take care.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Danielle and Ms. Joseph, for being with us today. We talk to you guys on Monday. Please go on.
Entertainment, information, conversation. All on Street 91.9 FM, the official station that defends the nation.
So I need you to stay with me. It's coming up next. I have a very interesting interview for you to hear. So if you are living in Tobago, my Tobago family, this interview is going to be very interesting for you also. So you need to spread the word around. I have an interview coming up in a short bit for my friends and family in Tobago.